Okay, welcome everyone to Aljoya, Mercer Island. My name is Larry Almo, and I'm your Community Relations Director. And we are fortunate to have this Zoom webinar today with Orla. Orla has graciously accepted to do this, and there's Sarah there too as well, her teammate. And I thank Tina also for putting this together, because I asked Tina that I really wanted a great Zoom event, and Orla has accepted to do it. So we're very happy with that. And I just want to tell you, for those who are first timer on Aljoya, Mercer Island, we're a lovely retirement community. We have 114 beautiful apartments nested in Mercer Island, beautiful Lake Washington views, beautiful courtyards, a lot of nature. We have a lot of beautiful courtyard, and we have a beautiful nature walks. There's plenty of parks in our area. So that's why this presentation was important to us. And not only that, is your health care. Your health is important to us as well. We want you to live an independent lifestyle for many years to come. So we're looking at different ways and different avenues how we can have great presenters like Orla give a presentation. So just speaking about Orla, she's going to explain the different kinds of nature interventions that have been used to treat and alleviate common health issues like cancer, dementia, and depression. All things that, I don't care what age you are, all these things could hit anybody at any time, and especially during the COVID-19. So Orla Concannon is the founder and CEO of Eldergrow, and we thank having the founder on. You're celebrating your 6th anniversary, so congratulations to you. Everybody give a little congratulations, because through high times and low times, COVID times, you're still in business and doing that. So that's a milestone right there. But before I turn it over to Orla, I read one thing about her on her website, beautiful website, navigated through there. It says that she's a graduate. When she went to graduate school, she created Eldergrow as her business plan and won multiple awards at the 17th annual Harriet Stevenson Business Competition. Congratulations to you. And I just wanted you, before you start your formal presentation, just many college students go to college and they come up with this business plan and hardly ever come to fruition, and this did. So your passion must definitely be there. So welcome Orla and Sarah and Tina, my coworker, and all our lovely guests that are on today, and I will turn it over to you now.
Well, thank you, Larry, for the very warm welcome. I greatly appreciate it, and thanks to everyone for joining us this lovely afternoon. I know that it's quite lovely, stellar weather, so appreciate you spending some time with us. And as Larry made mention, I developed Eldergrow during my graduate studies at Seattle University, so just down the way from Mercer Island. And I really wanted to figure out a way to bring nature indoors and make it accessible to elders in senior living settings. And so that launched Eldergrow exactly 6 years ago, this Earth Day on Thursday. So happy Earth Day. And I will share some tips for you along the way, how you can incorporate environmental practices into your daily lives in honor of Earth Day. So again, I want to thank Era Living for this fine opportunity, and Larry and Tina. We've been looking forward to this event, and always just, nature is indeed my passion, and it's so accessible. I mean, certainly it's on top of mind in days like these. And so I'm going to make sure at the end of this presentation that you will have some actionable takeaways. So I'm going to share some of the science, of course, but I want to provide you with simple takeaways that you can incorporate immediately into your life. So with that, I'm going to start sharing my screen. And I do want to thank Sarah, who's on our call, who helped develop this presentation. And she came up with some great Earth Day tips for you. So, okay, how does it look? Can you see it okay? All right. So all the photos, the nature photos in this presentation are in fact from Washington State. So a tribute to our home evergreen state. And with that, we'll begin. Here's the outlook for today. So we're already in the midst of the introduction, and thanks again for Larry, that warm welcome. I'm going to then, in the near future, talk about the science. So what are the evidence-based studies? You all have likely heard of SAD, right? Seasonal affective disorder. So it's already widely recognized that nature plays a direct role in our well-being. And so I'm just going to sort of broaden maybe some of your perspective around that. And then we're going to talk about the different types of nature therapies and moving over to practical takeaways, those ones that I mentioned, things that you can do right away after this presentation. And of course, there's some Earth Day tips. And then depending on how time goes, by all means, I would love some questions. Okay, we're going to dive right in. And we're going to talk about the backdrop, the science to nature therapy. Well, it's an evidence-based, non-pharmacological approach to wellness. There are, in fact, over 200 studies around nature and horticultural therapy. The first psychiatric hospital in the United States, in Friends Hospital in Pennsylvania, incorporated nature therapy and horticultural therapy. So it's been around for quite some time. It's just sort of new on the scene, if you will, in senior living. Um, and nature plays a proven positive role. It provides emotional well-being, it helps with pain management, and also helps with the physical recovery. And therefore, nature impacts the quality of care. So that means like it helps to decrease medications, it helps to decrease healthcare costs. It helps also impact the quality of environment. So if you have better air oxygenation or ventilation in your household or your community, that will make improve the quality of your environment. And lastly, quality of life. So we want to improve the physical and mental, spiritual well-being. Okay, so diving into the details around the science, let's look at that lovely Washington picture. I suspect most of us are from Washington, so some of these scenes might look very familiar to you. Now, nature therapy, why? Why nature therapy? I think the photo alone, the two photos might be telling. Nature experiences are positive distractions. In today's day and age, and certainly I'm very guilty of constantly looking at my phone. I'm constantly checking my email, and that is a very well-known distraction in my company. But that's not a healthy kind of distraction. We want the healthy ones that recalibrate our psyche and our positive well-being. So those are like looking out the side at the bird feeder, looking at the bird that just came to visit, or I don't know if you have bunnies in your neck of the woods, but they seem to be all over Seattle these days. But watching a rabbit go across your yard, if you don't mind it eating some of it along the way, it is just really much more of a healthier distraction than that mobile phone. And really, there's science to it. It's not just that it's fun to watch, but focusing on these types of distractions help increase your pain tolerance and actually help with coping and healing. So that's why some of these studies that I'm about to share with you will help explain the why. Before I get into more of the studies, I did want to share this screenshot. This is a screenshot of a physician's cell phone, that image, right in the beginning of COVID. And you can see how his usage around his mobile device increased 185%. His total screen time in the week prior was 59 hours, if you look at the bottom. And that was just on his phone. So more than ever, we're relying on technology, and it does hold a place in our society, absolutely. But we can't forget about the foundation. Before there's technology and before there's really anything, there is nature. And so we want to be mindful that too much time on a device can cause strain on your eyes It can set off your sleeping patterns. Looking at a screen, for example, that blue light can kind of definitely have an impact on sleep. And then, just getting addicted to your devices. That, of course, happens. And there's, people are getting aches and pains in their necks and in their hands. So, just wanted to share kind of what the pulse of our society is at the moment, and to talk about ways in which we can counteract that. So there's two schools of thought that are largely recognized in the world of nature therapy. One is called biophilia, and the other is ecotherapy. These days, you might hear people calling it green care. So, ecotherapy was a book written by Howard Kleinbell in 1996, and he's certainly a key thought leader around green therapy. And he talked about that healing takes place with the interaction with the earth, and that as little as 5 minutes in nature helps improve our mood, motivation, and self esteem. And biophilia, you might hear about that too these days. It's on the rise as well, but it's um, a biophiliac design is incorporating nature, and humans are connected. We are part of nature. We are all one. So nature isn't something that's simply outside the doors and that we're not connected to it. We are one globe, and biophilia is that whole premise. So we're part of nature, not apart. This is a famous study that I love sharing. I love talking about this with everyone, because it was a landmark study. In 1984, Dr. Roger Ulrich, who's widely recognized in nature therapy, he did a formal study, and a controlled study, and there were patients recovering from gallbladder, and they were in a hospital, and some patients had a room with a view, and other patients did not have a room with a view. And so the three outcomes over this study was those patients who had a view of nature, three things happened. One, they required less medication. Two, they used the call button less, the nurse call button. And three, they were discharged a day earlier. So this really catapulted this study, and this research catapulted nature therapy into the forefront. And it's been really on the rise ever since. Here are more studies to consider. NYU School of Medicine did a very well-known study as well, and around depression, and that patients with clinical depression who participated in routine therapeutic gardening activities experienced reduced depression, increased attention capacity, and benefits up to 3 months. So the studies, by the way, everyone, if you want to, see where these hailed from, they're noted on the slide. And then stress. Who isn't stressed? I don't know. I think we have a higher threshold for it these days. We're always coming and going, and it's important to give pause, and really I encourage all of you, and me included for that matter, to really take a moment to relax, and use nature to help us do that. 85% of a person's daily life is spent indoors. So simply stepping outside, even just going to your mailbox, that counts. That definitely counts. Look up at the sky, look at the cherry blossoms that are blooming. Look at a flower that's come, just about to open. That all counts to help reduce stress. Now, if you can't get outside, which is, of course, the case for some, you want to have indoor plants. They help to improve the job satisfaction at work. They help to reduce psychological stress and improve mood, and they help to improve cognitive health. Uh, I touch on different audiences or populations in this presentation, because we all, of course, are of a, have a larger family in our lives. And here is an important study around ADD. And there was a study talking about that children with ADD who played in a windowless indoor setting had more severe symptoms of ADD than those who played in grassy outdoor spaces. So it helped to reduce the symptoms, in other words. It wouldn't certainly heal it altogether, but it can help the symptoms. For those recovering from breast cancer treatment, there were studies back in the early 2000s that talked about patients, breast cancer patients who participate in activities or interact with nature environments can help prevent fatigue before and after breast surgery or treatment. Dementia. So this is what really locked me into Eldergrow and really therapeutic horticulture, studies like these. When I was in grad school, I came across this study and I really never looked back when I came across this research, which is, definitely peer reviewed, as they say, so widely revered. And in any case, here the one key highlight is that before you on the screen, gardening may be a preventative measure to help reduce the onset of dementia, and that daily gardening was found to reduce the factors for dementia by 36%. Now, I had never seen anything so definitive like that. I was really just, and to this day, I find that staggering. And I found it so powerful because it's non pharmacological and it's definitive. And so, for those of you who don't garden, give it, you don't have to be a master gardener. I'm not a master gardener. So know that, ha- dabbling with a potted plant counts. Watering that potted plant, on a daily basis, just a little bit of water counts. So keep these things in mind. Um, they're really powerful. Weeding counts. Not that you might want to weed, but it is quite therapeutic. And here's a powerful research that we talk a lot about. This is a systematic review. So that means it's a series of studies, not just one study. And this hail from the Gerontological Society of America and talked about indoor gardening. So indoor gardening in senior living helps to slow down the cognitive decline in residents living with dementia, helps to improve their weight, and helps to improve the quality and quantity of their sleep. And we're winding down the research and we'll move over to some different types of nature therapies, but I just wanted to share this one as well. This is again a systematic review, so it's kind of the gold star in research. And what this came forth from the Aging and Mental Health Science Journal, that therapeutic horticulture is one of the most successful interventions for decreasing loneliness in senior living. So the three top interventions are reminiscing therapy, laughing therapy, and therapeutic horticulture. Oops. So now let's talk about the different types of nature therapies. Enjoy the view as we segue into these types of therapies. So there's active and passive interventions. So we'll start with active. So they're kind of you can kind of intuitively guess what they mean. Active interventions is like physical interactions with real forms in nature. So examples of that might be indoor gardening, horticultural therapy, animal assisted therapy, virtual reality, and I bet that raises a question, like how is virtual reality an active intervention? Well, if you use virtual reality to walk through a forest, that's how you can actually have it being active. On the right is more passive. So this is sort of visual or observational interactions. They're often simulated. So examples of that are indoor plants, nature corridors. So if you had a mural in a corridor, that would count. Indoor gardens, aquariums, like those large fish aquariums, and then nature photos or videos. And I'm going to actually touch on that a little bit more in the upcoming slide. Here are more examples of passive. So I'm going to hone in on passive right now. So room with a view. Remember that study I talked about a few minutes ago, that landmark study? So how can you have nature in your own life if you're not able to directly interact with it? Well, having a view of it. Oops, sorry, that my slide is mouse a little sensitive. So sitting by the window is so powerful. Looking at the bird feeder outside, watching the clouds go by, whether they're gray or whether it's a blue sky, and that is powerful. Sitting in the sunlight that comes in from that window. So if there's a part of your house that brings in more sunshine, sit there because that's healing. That's healing for your body. So consider that if you can't actually go outside and directly access nature. And then indoor plants, by all means, that's a powerful way to incorporate nature. Here are other ways to incorporate nature in a passive fashion. One is that's an example of a monitor. So we're all probably on computers, I imagine, right now. And so if you had your screensaver as a pretty nature scene, that is actually, there are studies that actually say that that is soothing. So it doesn't have to be majestic. It can be your own photo. And if that's majestic, that's that's great too. Um, but it doesn't have to be, as I said, majestic. Any picture of nature, studies show, are powerful. They talk about it in people's work cubicles. If they have a photograph of nature by their monitor, that they actually can reduce stress. Now, on the right is something I love. I'm excited to share with you, and many of you probably already know, but I'm a big fan of live bird cams or animal cams. So, those are cameras that you can log into for free 24 hours a day and see a bird's nest. Here you can see the osprey's nest, and then you can really watch anything. You can watch, I learned you can watch pandas. I'm a big fan of birds, so I tend to go that route. And I go to Cornell Bird Labs. I go to their website, and they have a ton of live bird cams, and they're free and they're 24/7, and they're so soothing and engaging. And my friend told me that she likes to watch a panda cam. So just look up on YouTube live bird cams, or go to Cornell Bird Lab if you like birds like me. Now let's talk about active interventions. These are, as the name would suggest, a little bit more active, and we'll break into those now. So there's forest bathing, and I bet some of you in the Northwest have already heard of this. It's a Japanese practice known as Shinrin Yoku, and it's an immersion experience where you really get your senses ignited by walking through the forest. And you hear, you get your senses, you can hear your auditory senses come alive. If you hear the wind blowing through the leaves of a tree, or you hear the birds chirping, that is how it ignites, all the senses: auditory, touch, smells. So it's been proven to help improve mood, lower cortisol levels, lower depression, fight off infection, and reduce inflammation. So next time when you're stressed and you just don't know which way to go and you feel like you might combust, go outside. Go outside. Even it's not going to necessarily take away all your stress, but it's gonna help you on a deeper level. So animal assisted therapy is a active intervention, and something that's a lot of senior living communities incorporate, whether it's through a dog or a cat, or even in this case, bunnies. So there's a organization in Oregon called Bunny in Baskets, and they visit communities and bring domesticated bunnies in for that interaction, and they're gentle and they're soft. There's equine therapy as well. And I bet most of you are probably wondering, how on earth can one access equine therapy? It might seem a little daunting or challenging, but how it works actually, and this is for senior living individuals, or, of course, anyone on this call. But equine therapy can indeed be incorporated um, to senior living communities. How it works is not residents or riding on a horse, but rather caring for the horse, brushing the horse. Horses are very intuitive creatures, so that's how it lends to reducing stress. So brushing the horse is how that would work. And I think I want to flip back to this photo when in the bottom right, you can see the young girl petting the horse there. So it just is a really unique way to connect with nature through lovely animals. Now, chicken therapy. Bet you're all wondering about this too. Chicken therapy is great. Our own VP of Ops at Eldergrow, she has a couple chickens, and she say they cluck, and they will want their hind legs rubbed by her, and so in senior living setting, they can they're really kind of fun creatures. They have personalities, and they can encourage residents to go outside to visit and watch and observe the chickens. So there is motivation help takes place, motivation to go outside and get that sunlight and watch some fun animals. Now, therapeutic horticulture is the use of plants to improve your quality of mind, body, and spirit. And this is sort of our wheelhouse at Eldergrow. So I'll talk a little bit more about this one. It's been really powerful during COVID because the gardens have been indoors, and they're a place of tranquility and a place where something living is growing. So it is literally life indoors. And why is it so effective? I wonder if you could take a look, please, at the screen and have a look there and see if you can figure out the theme that's taking place. There is indeed a theme, and it's one of the reasons why horticultural therapy has so much impact. And I'll give you a hint with the top left photo. The top left photo is, I see someone holding their nose. Yeah, you're on the right track. So the top one is touch, top left. And we'll go clockwise. Top right, taste. Bottom right, sound. It's an auditory socialization opportunity. And the middle bottom is sight. Of course, plants are gorgeous to look at. And then there's that scent, the olfactory scent in the bottom left photo. There is a formal practice around horticultural therapy and an association, the American Horticultural Therapy Association. And these are the 6 wellness goals associated with horticultural therapy. So it's actually a defined practice, and they hone in on sensory stimulation, motor skills, working your hands around the soil, cognitive stimulation, socialization, like I was just mentioning, creative expression, and spatial awareness. So some people might wonder what that is. I know I did when I first started studying it. And so that means sort of like depth perception, or can you being able to, say, for example, put the seed in the center of the pot, that type of thing. Or, again, your depth perception. And a little bit more about sensory stimulation. Um, Studies show that scent can elevate mood by 40%. It helps to encourage reminiscing, and reminiscing, if you recall, is one of the top interventions for loneliness. And so it's a powerful tool. It's powerful for those living with dementia as well. It helps give a sense of place and identity. I highly encourage, if you have a loved one in your life, to not only reminisce but use scent to do that. Bring in a mint plant and just pull off a leaf, and that mint is so powerful, and you would want to touch it and rub the oils off in your hands, and have your loved one try that as well. In fact, I can do a demonstration right here behind me. I'll just take this plant behind me. I'm going to stop sharing so you can see how to do this. So can you see me okay? Okay. So this is, I just pulled off a little a leaf here. And so I want to show you, and because I really want you to have this opportunity to do sensory stimulation with anyone in your life who has challenges and even just stress. That is a challenge. And certainly anyone you know living with cognitive impairment, perhaps. So you just want to rub the leaf, the fragrant leaf, mint, basil, rosemary, and then the oils come off in your hands, and then you can smell that. And so if it's lavender or rosemary, it's so powerful. It stays in your hand for a while. Um, so you to do that safely during the days of COVID, you can just pull off the leaf. You don't have to do the whole plant, you know. So I want to encourage you to use sensory stimulation, and I also want to share the gift that's in store for everyone participating today. So everyone who has joined us today will receive a lavender sachet will be sent to you from Larry's team, and it's for the Washington organic lavender. So grown here in Washington State, and it's soothing, and it's definitely well known. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir to many of you that lavender is quite soothing and relaxing. So that will be you'll be receiving that in a couple weeks time. We are packing and creating them for you as we speak. So back to the slide, I want to move down about tactile stimulation. Don't forget that touch. Whenever we smell things, people always smell with their nose, right? But there's that you can touch that leaf. The oils come off on your hand. I've seen many breakthroughs when people smell something, and also when they have the fragrance on their hands. And this really helps with people who are feeling lonely or isolated, because enhancing the senses enhances your well-being. So we're touched on this already. I'm going to actually see if I can play this video, come to think of it. This is a woman living in memory care, and it's only 5 seconds. But this is me working with her with a mint leaf, and watch her reaction. It's not even 5 seconds, so you've got to stay with me. Here we go. So, you know, it's so powerful. And keep an eye out for your lavender sachets for you to enjoy. Now let's talk about, we're winding down, and it looks like we'll probably have some time for some Q&A. But I want to help you on the call, and you know, as ways of thanking you, but also, you know, what can you do at home? There's so many obvious things that we might overlook. And I also, before, I want to point out that, you know, nature is you know, near you. It's not, you know, something where you have to travel down to national park. So this is Aljoya's, the Mercer Islands, gorgeous garden. And so I just wanted to share that because I couldn't help not to. It's just so stunning. And so it's just a remarkable, lovely garden. And so I wanted to share that. And I kind of wanted to talk about, you know, this slide here that started this segment. There is this feeling, and I know I used to kind of be like this. Oops, sorry, my little earbud fell out. Hope that wasn't too loud. But there's this feeling that we have to drive to nature, right? That we have to go somewhere to access it. And that's really actually not true here. We're very privileged in Washington State and Seattle, for that matter, that 96% of Seattle residents live within a 10-minute walk of a park, compared to a national average of 55%. So again, it doesn't need to be grandiose. Nature can be the plant on your office desk, and it could be what's outside your front door. It's that simple. And so, you know, for residents living at Aljoya, this is how they access it in such a tremendous fashion. And so we talk about nearby nature. Here's a dosage. So this is like the latest research coming out of nature therapy. Everyone's like, okay, we get it. We know it helps, but how do I do it? How much do I get? How much do I get of it? And so this is the dosage. Now, this is new research. You can actually see the studies on the bottom. You can see how they are hailing from our own University of Washington. So it's all really new research. And it's kind of like the nature pill. That's what they're informally calling it. What's the nature pill? What's the dose? Sign me up. Now, what do I do? So stress. So the understanding is for, to help eliminate stress, just 20 minutes of contact with nature can help lower your stress hormones. And there's a physiological impact that takes place. And for to impact challenges with blood pressure and depression, a minimum of 30 minutes per week. And then depression, you can also combat depression by visiting one garden per week, even 4 to 5 per week. I feel like, living myself in Northeast Seattle, I feel so privileged that I can just walk around a couple blocks and see some gorgeous gardens. I love spring. It is by far my favorite season. And for optimal well-being, here's the best recommendation: 120 minutes or 2 hours nature per week, and the optimal would be just a little bit more than that, about 2.5 hours, and that's really good for your mind, body, and soul. Soil. Now, remember, you don't have to be an advanced gardener, and nor do you actually even have to get your hands in soil. There's studies that show that just being around soil, there's particulates that they act like they help to reduce pardon me, the the words escaping me. They help to reduce the stress, and they release dopamine, that serotonin, pardon me, not dopamine. So being around soil helps to release serotonin, which helps combat anxiety. So you don't have to have your hands technically in the soil. So just being around a garden is helpful. Pardon me. There we go. Fresh air. Remember, I promised the immediate takeaways, and this is one of them. So this is by simply opening the air, opening the windows to your, pardon me, sorry, that's our office line. So this is something you can do right away if you aren't already doing it on a lovely day like this, but improving the ventilation is so powerful in your community, or your office, or your where else, your home. So wherever you find yourself, let's see. Let me see here. Okay, pardon me, the office line is going there. So the Harvard Business Review did this really neat study. And so for those of you who are in the working world, they talked about how stale office air makes you less productive, and that having fresh office ventilation helps to actually improve strategic decision making. So if you're having a strategy session at work or with your family, whatever the case may be, having fresh air is conducive to making good decisions. And then for it, you can also bring in plants for helping increase oxygen. So these plants are widely known to help oxygenate a space. So there's snake plant on the left, there's a gerbera daisy in the middle, and then there's a Erica palm on the right. All of these are widely known plants, very accessible in your local nursery or your local Home Depot in the plant section. That these are well known to help oxygenate space. Indoor plants, that's a spider plant there. Try one of those. If you're a bit worried that you feel like you have a black thumb, know that spider plants, that's my tip for you today, my insider's tip. They are the easiest to care for. They're next to impossible, in my opinion, to kill. So shoot for a spider plant. They're lovely, and they're so good for the environment that you're in. They help, and all indoor plants help to increase satisfaction, help to reduce stress, improve mood. We talked a little bit about this at the beginning of this session on the science section. And then plants in general, you get the opportunity to grow life and provide purpose. There's something really powerful when you get to nurture something. It's like a cat, an animal, a cat or a dog, like a pet. Plants are also serve that purpose. So if you have a loved one that is, living in a community or away from you, gift them a plant. They last. I love bouquets, but they don't last. A plant lasts. And if you're looking for one that lasts for a long time, here's one. Or um, the snake plant, by the way, that's another one that lasts for a long time. Only needs a little bitty bit of water. Same with the spider plant. Little bitty bit of water goes a long way. When I worked with a woman on the right, she was living in a memory care setting. Her name's Yi Ching, and she was crying tears of joy when she grew. That it was the seedlings, and she was just so laughing and crying at the same time because she couldn't believe she actually ever grew something. She had said she had a black thumb, and then she was reminiscing of her grandmother in Hong Kong and all the orchids that she used to grow, and it was just really a powerful moment of reminiscing. And the gentleman on the left, he lives in a memory care setting, and he's, getting to nurture the garden. It's so powerful. This is one of my favorite stories, and those are spider plants, baby spider plants that will procreate on your mother plant. And so while working with residents, we replanted the baby plants, the spider plants. And this was in my earliest days of Eldergrow, very early. This was 6 years ago, nearly 6 years ago. And I happened to have those labels, and we planted them. We learned about, recycling those water bottles. We talked about that. We talked about, soil. And then I asked the residents if they wanted to name their baby plants. And they said they did. And you can see the names they chose to give their plants: Life, Sweetheart, and Hope. So there's something very, profound that happens when we're around nature. I did want to segue over in your last two slides to talk about Earth Day. I promised to give you some tips to consider as we celebrate this special day. It's our favorite holiday at Eldergrow. And so here are simple acts of green. For one, you can recycle. Reconsider throwing that plastic in the, depending on where you live, and in the straight into the trash, or your aluminum. It's not hard. So have a think what you can do. I have the chart that I get every year from King County, and I put it on my wall in my little utilities room, so I know what goes in the trash and what doesn't. Shop with reusable bags. Have car-free or carpool days. Turn off your lights when you leave a room. Like we said, we promised simple techniques for you to say, give some TLC to Mother Earth. Compost and recycle. What's one thing that I learned that's neat about Aljoya at Mercer Island is that they use compostables on their garden, which I think is pretty special. And watch your water usage. Consider fixing your leaky tap. While you're brushing your teeth, turn off the running water, or maybe time your showers. Just some neat ways, easy ways that you can consider helping Earth. I wanted to share one study. This is a partner of ours all the way in Virginia. And so they started a composting program as part of an environmental practice. And the impact that they made, one, they rolled out this compost program within 2 weeks. And then you'll see in the bullets on the right hand next to the photo, they diverted 50,000 pounds of food waste from landfills, and which helped to reduce the waste hauling costs, and of course, energize the residents. So like I said, Aljoya, Mercer Island, actually already using compostables for their lovely outdoor garden. So it's just some neat, really ways to consider. Having grown up in the East Coast, we definitely didn't collect compost items like we do here um, in Seattle. So I'm just really marveled how progressive Seattle and Washington State are around these earth um, benefiting practices. And with that, we are winding down to the end. We actually have a couple minutes if anyone has some questions they would like to ask. Um, or if not, I welcome questions. I always love them. But I feel a little bit sheepish and guilty that you're just spending this afternoon, lovely afternoon with me and our team and the Aljoya Era Living team. Um, so I'm glad we ended a little bit early. And I'm wondering if there are any questions. If Larry, would they write them in on the chat pane or how would we get those?
I see them in the chat. I see a couple questions. One is, it says here, great presentation. This is from Mark. Someone
Hmm.
gave me a tip which I follow when sitting and, as I put it, luxuriating in the garden and it's summer. It's good for the body and the soul to put bare feet on the grass.
Yes,
You feel you feel you're one-on-one with the earth.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. I love that to ground down. Literally, you hear about, oh, I need to get grounded. I'm I'm stressed or I just need to slow down. I need to get grounded. You literally can get grounded by walking barefoot outdoors. I just did that last week. And I was reminded of that. It's kind of connecting with the core of our earth. Thank you, Mark. I love that.
And another question from Sarah is, do you have any standout success stories from your work in therapeutic horticulture?
Okay. Well, that one I shared with Yi Ching was powerful about how the impact that growing something, even if it's just a little seedling, can really lift the spirits. I think there's something on a spiritual, emotional, mental level that happens when you're interacting with nature in that way. So that I think that story is a good one, or how the women chose to call their plants hope
Mhm.
and life.
And also another question from Tina is, Mercer Island is right in between. Seattle is 15 minutes away, Bellevue is 15 minutes away. But can you suggest some beautiful parks in the area here that you would recommend for people to go visit?
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's see. There is a well-known park in Mercer Island that actually was named after one of the leading horticulturists. I think it's the Burbank Park. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Luther
Luther. But
Burbank.
yeah, yeah, that's a very famous. I think a horticulturist that um, you could visit. I know I did some birding in Mercer Island on the audit with the Audubon Society on their annual bird count day, which is right around Christmas every year. So that's one way to do nature is to and enjoy parks. Some of my favorite parks. I'm a big fan of Golden Gardens in Western Seattle because I love seeing the mountains, the Olympics. It's an urban park, but I love that one. Um, Lincoln Park is quite a gorgeous one. That was actually in one of the photos I showed, and that's in West Seattle. Um, and I like going to closer to the Cascades to do some hiking over that way. I'm quite fond of all those spots on the foothills there. So keep in mind that a park is for 96% of those living in Seattle, there's a park less than 10 minutes away. The closest one to where I live is called Cohen Park. It's in Ravenna, Northeast Seattle, and it's like going into a ravine. I'm always amazed. I'm in the middle of the city when I go into that park because all of a sudden I'm enveloped by trees, and it's just it changes everything in that moment, just being in nature. So those are some of mine. I'm sure others can drop in the chat pane, maybe some ideas to share with others.
Yes, and you mentioned Luther Burbank. It's a resident favorite, Luther Burbank Park,
Oh,
because you just take a ride out of Aljoya and walk 10 minutes and you're there. And it's a
oh my
beautiful,
gosh.
lovely big park. Also, we have such gracious people who attend. There's many things, very worthwhile. Thank you so much. And that's very nice from our people, our listeners that are on today. Also, Mary Jane says that an easy grow plant is a peace lily. Do you agree with that, Orla?
Yep, yep. Indeed, I do. In fact, I gave one to my mother for as a gift. As I said, giving gifts as plants is, these they live for a while and can live for great lengths of time. That is definitely a user friendly plant. We always take into account at Eldergrow what might be a toxic, and that one is I wouldn't give that to someone living with dementia because there is a little bit of plant toxicity around it, but it is incredibly beautiful and easy to grow. So that's one of the things we hone in, in our line of work is plant toxicity. You might want to keep that in mind if you're considering a plant for somebody with dementia that it's not just ingestion. I mean, that's what some people automatically think, but you don't want to use a plant that might cause dermatitis, because that, a rash could, say, for example, escalate. So calla lilies are a little bit toxic to the skin, so I wouldn't use that. But I would, by all means, it's gorgeous, and I gifted it to my mom.
And those plants you mentioned before, some people are sensitive to odors, like from a plant. Sweet. Is there any of these plants that you mentioned that don't have like lilies are very strong, but is there any plants that don't have any kind of smell to them?
Oh, a lot of them don't. The snake plant, the spider plant, the gerbera plant, they don't smell. Herbs, of course, more than likely will have a fragrance.
Mhm.
And lilies are powerful. And this time of year, you're going to get a lot of fragrances. So the hyacinths and the lilies, the andromeda, everything's alive. And of course, people with allergies are are probably challenged right now. But a lot of the plants that are just green without flowers often don't have a fragrance, unless, of course, they're herbs.
And another comment here is another plant gift is the amaryllis bulb sold during the holidays that is encased in wax. No
Ooh,
wearing, just beauty.
ooh, neat.
And you know what I like about this presentation is you don't have to go on Amazon and order something to get a quick fix to feel good about something. How much does it cost to walk out of your home and walk within a 10-minute walk to a park or somewhere where there's beauty? Does it cost you anything for that?
It's in it, yeah, very inexpensive. Yeah, well said.
And also, that's the last question I have. And just explain what are you're going to send us these sachets that you're going to send
Yes.
to us, and then we will get them to our listeners that are here.
Yep.
And again, explain what is the essence of that. I just want to hear one more time, if you don't mind. We got 3 minutes
Of
left.
course. Yeah, so it's filled with lavender grown here in Washington State. And so we're packing it up as a gift to you for Earth Day and for joining this participation or participating in this presentation, pardon me. And so you'll be getting those. We're going to be sending them off to Larry, and then you'll get them by way of Larry's team. So in the next couple of weeks, and they're filled with lavender. Lavender is soothing. It helps to decrease anxiety. It helps to combat headaches. And many people often put it in their drawers to make their clothes fragrant. I like it on my bed pillow. So I put it right on top of my bed pillow after I make my bed. And so later on at night when I'm going to sleep, that fragrance is there. I'll remove it when it's bedtime or move it to the side. But that's how I use it because it helped me unwind and relax for the evening and have a good rest.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much, Orla, Sarah, and my
Mhm.
colleague Tina for putting this all together for us. very informative. You will get a feedback form that I'm going to be sending you, because in order for Aljoya to bring such eloquent speakers and such great informative type of webinars, I need to know if you like this, if you have any improvement, how was the format that we use. It just helps us improve every seminar that we do. Hopefully, we would love to have a seminar like this in our courtyard when times are that available. You send us, you put a beautiful on your screen picture of the Aljoya courtyard. Wouldn't that be fun to set up some chairs and everybody be right in the middle of this and you explaining and doing all these things? So I would love to see that day, and so would Tina. So that would be great. And so stay tuned with the other things coming up. So look for your gift within the next couple of weeks. So everybody is a winner today. Can you imagine? You're a winner, you're a winner, you're a winner,
Yay.
Tina's a winner, Barbara's a winner, Claudia's a winner, everybody's a winner, and Karen too. So Tony, so Richard, everybody is a winner today. And thank you all very much. And we look forward to spending good times together again soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. Enjoy the nature outside your door and Earth Day. It was a pleasure.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.